This is the beautiful Louis Vuitton homepage. And this is what I've just created in a couple of minutes without code within Instant. And in this video, I'm going to show you how. So to get started, let's first create a new and empty page. Here we go. Here is our empty page. And let's take a look at the Louis Vuitton site for one more time. So here we have the main header section with a background video, some text and 2 buttons. Underneath we have 3 product categories and then more videos follow. So let's first create this header section. To do this, let's drag in our base row. There we go. Set the height to 600. And then within this row, we can set the fill to a color, an image, but also a video. So let's paste in the link. And here we go. The video is in the background. Now what we have to do is create these 2 text elements and these 2 buttons. To do this, let's drag in 2 more rows right onto this video. And then if we select the base row, we can set the distribution to start from the bottom. There we go. Now in this first column right here, let's drag in 2 text elements. This one right here and a nice header. As you can see, the text elements are next to each other, but what we want is that they're placed on top of each other. So to do this, let's change the direction from horizontal to vertical. There we go. And set the height to fit, so the content fits within this row. Now let's set the alignment to align from the center. And we can also change the gap a little bit to make the space between the 2 text elements a bit less. So let's change this to 12. There we go. And what does it say? New and men's spring summer 2024. So new and men's spring summer 2024. Let's delete this fill color and we're getting already a little bit closer. The color of the text is white. The font is Helvetica Neue. Same for this one, the header text and the font Helvetica Neue. I do believe the font is somewhat smaller, especially of this this header text right here. So let's change the size from 48 to, let's say, 36 or even 32. Now what's left to do is create the 2 buttons. So to do this, let's drag in 2 buttons. 1 and there we have 2. The direction is already set correctly because we want the 2 buttons to be next to each other. Now let's set the distribution to distribute from the center and align from the middle. There we go. Let's also delete the fill color. And now let's make these buttons a little bit more beautiful. So what do they say? Discover the collection and explore the campaign. Discover the collection and explore the campaign. Explore the campaign. And it's a transparent button, which is more round and has a white border. So let's do that. Let's delete the fill. Let's add a border, make the color white and set the width of the border to 2 and then the radius to 100. There we go. Let's do the same thing for the other button. Delete the fill, add a border, change the border color to white, the width of the border to 2 and the radius to 100. Then one final thing, these 2 rows need to be closer to each other. So let's first of all delete the minimum height, which is set to this row. There we go. And I think the spacing already looks a bit better. Then we need to change one more thing. As you can see, there's a bit of space between the edge of the video and where the buttons start. So to do this, we select the base row and then we can add some inside spacing. So let's say it's 24 pixels. There we go. This is looking good. And I think we can adjust the gap a little bit still to make it a bit closer to each other. 24, this looks about right. So now let's continue. Here we have 3 product categories with the image, with text and with more text linking to the specific collection page. So let's do the same thing within Instant. To do this, let's drag in another base row, and then within this row, we will drag 3 columns, each column representing the 3 images and text elements we see right here. Let's also add some inside spacing, so the edges of the image are not connected to the edge of the actual page. So inside spacing, top and bottom, 24, and left and right, 24 as well, or maybe a bit more, 84. There we go. Within this first column, we have an image, and then we have 2 text elements underneath each other. So let's drag in a image, and underneath we drag in a new row, and then within this row we drag in 2 text elements. Let's delete the minimum height, and let's work with the image. So the first image is this one right here. This looks nice. And let's also delete the fill color of this first column. Yes, and now let's fill in the content. So it's women's new bags and shop the selection. Women's new bags and shop the collection. It's of course Helvetica Neue, and the color is black. There we go. The font is a bit bigger. I would say 24, and this one is, the font size is right, but we still need to change the actual font to Helvetica Neue, and also we need to add an accent, which is the underline. So there we go. This is starting to look really, really good already. If we take a closer look, this text might be a bit smaller, and there's a bit less space between the image and the actual text element. So let's accomplish the same thing. Let's make this a bit smaller, 20. This one looks right. Change the spacing here to, or the gap here to 24, maybe even less, 24. And the same applies to this one right here, 24. And this is looking really, really good. What we should do now is duplicate this first row and then just fill in the content. So let's duplicate it 1 time, let's duplicate it 2 times, and delete the empty ones right here. And now we can just change the content to this image, this one to this image, and change the text. So right here it says women's new shoes LV Romy. New shoes LV Romy. Pre-order now. And this right here is men's small leather goods. Goods, and we can explore the selection. And there we go. If we now take a look at the Louis Vuitton side, we see that we're getting pretty close. We have one more video element underneath. So let's do that, and let's create a bit more spacing between the header section and the product category section. So let's do that by changing the inside spacing top and bottom to 48 as well. And to create the other video section, we can simply just duplicate this first header section, duplicate, drag it underneath the product category section, and now we just have to change the content. So we have a different video, so let's change the video link. There we go, and we have some new text. It says Woman Cruise 2024. Cruise 2024, and then shop the collection and discover the campaign. And there we go. In a couple of minutes and without code, we have built the foundation of the Louis Vuitton homepage. One thing which is left to do right now is make it responsive. So let's take a look at the laptop viewport. This still looks really good. Now let's take a look at the iPad viewport. This also looks good still. One thing we could do is, instead of having these 3 product categories next to each other, underneath each other. So to do this, We have to change the direction of this column from horizontal to vertical. There we go. And as you can see, it doesn't fill up the space available entirely. That's most likely because this image has a width, a fixed width of 500 pixels, so it will never surpass that width. So what we have to do is change it from fixed to fill, and there we go. Do the same thing for the other images, fixed to fill, and this looks really, really good. Now let's take a look at the mobile viewport, and this is where it starts to look a little bit weird. The product category section still looks good, but these header sections with the background video start to look a little bit weird. So the first thing we need to do is place the buttons underneath each other. So to do this, we change the direction from horizontal to vertical. This already looks better. And we need to add some inside spacing to this text element, especially to the left and right. So 24. Then set the text to the center, and maybe we can even change this inside spacing to 48, so it looks even better. Yes, this looks better. Discover the collection. There can be less gap on mobile between these two buttons, so let's change this to 16. This looks right, and now let's do the same thing for the buttons right here. So change the direction from horizontal to vertical. There we go. Make the gap a little less, 16. But then we have one more problem right here, which is that the width of the buttons are not equal. And that's because the width of both buttons is set to fit. So the width of the button will change based upon the content within. So what we have to do right now is actually change the width to relative, and then say that it can occupy 75% of the space available, or let's say 65, and then do the same thing for the other button, 65, and then the buttons have a equal width. And there we go. Let's click on preview. This looks really, really nice. This as well, and then let's drag this one to the different viewports, and this looks really, really good. So there we go. This is how you can create the Louis Vuitton homepage without code and in a couple of minutes yourself.